Hello, Stormwater Designers. Welcome back to Clear Creek Solutions Hydrology Education videos. Today, we're going over more of the BMPs seen in the Construction Pollution Prevention section of the Washington Stormwater Management Manual. We're on to BMP C-123, plastic covering. Everything has been taken from the Stormwater Management Manual. We're just packaging like this, so maybe you can hear the information or see it in a more digestible way. So let's get into the purpose. So plastic covering provides immediate short-term erosion protection to slopes and disturbed areas. Plastic covering may be used on disturbed areas that require cover measures for less than 30 days, except as stated below. Plastic is particularly useful for protecting cut and fill slopes and stockpiles. However, the relatively rapid breakdown of most polyethylene sheeting makes it unsuitable for applications greater than 6 months. Due to rapid runoff caused by plastic covering, do not use this method upslope of areas that might be adversely impacted by concentrated runoff. Such areas include steep and/or unstable slopes. Plastic sheeting may result in increased runoff volumes and velocities, requiring additional on-site measures to counteract the increases. Creating a trough with wattles or other material can convey clean water away from these areas. To prevent undercutting, trench, and backfill rolled plastic covering products, although the plastic material is inexpensive to purchase, the cost of installation, maintenance, removal, and disposal add to the total costs of this BMP. Whenever plastic is used to protect slopes, install water collection measures at the base of the slope. These measures include plastic-covered beams, channels, and pipes used to convey clean rainwater away from bare soil and disturbed areas. Do not mix clean runoff from a plastic-covered slope with dirty runoff from a project. Some of the other uses will include temporary ditch liner, pond liner, liner for berm, temporary fuel storage, emergency slope protection, and many others. Place plastic into a small 12-inch wide by 6-inch deep slot trench at the top of the slope and backfill with soil to keep water from flowing underneath. Place sand-filled burlap or geotextile bags every 3 to 6 feet along seams and tie them together with twine to hold them in place. Inspect plastic for rips, tears, and open seams regularly and repair immediately. This prevents high-velocity runoff from contacting bare soil, which causes extreme erosion. Sandbags may be lowered into place tied to ropes. However, all sandbags must be staked in place, and plastic sheetings shall have a minimum thickness of 6 mil. If erosion at the toe of a slope is likely, a gravel berm, riprap, or other suitable protection shall be installed at the toe of the slope in order to reduce the velocity of runoff. And here's some of the maintenance standards. Torn sheets must be replaced and open seams repaired. Completely remove and replace the plastic if it begins to deteriorate due to some of the ultraviolet radiation. Completely remove the plastic where it's no longer needed. Dispose of old tires used to weigh down plastic. And then Ecology has approved products as able to meet the requirements of this BMP. The product did not pass through the Technology Assessment Protocol Ecology tape process. Local jurisdictions may choose to accept these products or may require additional testing prior to consideration for local use. And you can see a link at the bottom of that slide here where you can go to learn more about that. Now let's get into BMP C-124, sodding. So the purpose of sodding is to establish turf for immediate erosion protection and to stabilize drainage paths where concentrated overland flow will occur. Sodding may be used in some of the following areas: disturbed areas that require short-term or long-term cover, or that require immediate vegetative cover, all waterways that require vegetative lining. Waterways may also be seeded rather than sodded and protected with a net or blanket. Here's some of the design and installation specifications. Sod shall be free of weeds of uniform thickness, approximately 1 inch thick, and shall have a dense root mat for mechanical strength. Here's some of the steps recommended for installation. Shape and smooth the surface to final grade in accordance with the approved grading plan. Consider any areas such as swales that need to be over-excavated below design elevation to allow room for placing soil amendment and sod. Amend 4 inches minimum of compost into the top 8 inches of the soil if the organic content of the soil is less than 10% or the permeability is less than 0.6 inches per hour, and you can see the link there for more information. Fertilize according to the sod supplier's recommendations. Work lime and fertilizer 1 to 2 inches into the soil and smooth the surface. Lay strips of sod beginning at the lowest area to be sodded and perpendicular to the direction of water flow. Wedge strips securely into place. Square the ends of each strip to provide for a close, tight fit. Stagger joints at least 12 inches. Staple on slopes steeper than 3 horizontal, 1 vertical ratio, and then staple the upstream edge of each sod strip. Roll the sodded area and integrate, and when sodding is carried out in alternating strips or other patterns, seed the areas between the sod immediately after sodding. Then for maintenance, if the grass is unhealthy, the cause shall be determined and appropriate action taken to reestablish a healthy ground cover. Now let's look at BMPC 125, topsoiling and composting. So topsoiling and composting provide a suitable growth medium for final site stabilization with vegetation. While not a permanent cover practice in and of itself, topsoiling and composting are an integral component of providing permanent cover in those areas where there is an unsuitable soil surface for plant growth. Use this BMP in conjunction with other BMPs such as BMP C120, C121, and C124. Implementation of this BMP may meet the post-construction requirements of BMP T513. Native soils and disturbed soils that have been organically amended not only retain mulch or retain much more stormwater, but also serve as effective biofilters for urban pollutants and by supporting more vigorous plant growth, reduce the water, fertilizer, and pesticides needed to support installed landscapes. Topsoil does not include any subsoils, but only the material from the top several inches, including organic debris. Permanent landscape areas shall contain healthy topsoil that reduces the need for fertilizers, improves overall topsoil quality, provides for better vegetative health and vitality, improves hydrologic characteristics, and reduces the need for irrigation. Leave native soils in the duff layer undisturbed to the maximum extent practical. Stripping of existing properly functioning soil system and vegetation for the purpose of topsoiling during construction is not acceptable. Areas that already have good topsoil, such as undisturbed areas, do not require soil amendments. Restore to the maximum extent practical native soils disturbed during clearing and grading to a condition equal to or better than the original site condition moisture holding capacity. Use on-site native topsoil, incorporate amendments into on-site types of topsoil, or import blended topsoil to meet this requirement. Topsoiling is a required procedure when establishing vegetation on shallow soils and soils of critically low pH. Beware of where the topsoil comes from and what vegetation was on-site before disturbance. Topsoil from the site will contain mycorrhizal bacteria and that are necessary for healthy root growth and nutrient transfer. And then meet the requirements for for design and installation specifications. Meet the following requirements for disturbed areas that will be developed as lawn or landscaped areas at the completed project site. Maximize the depth of the topsoil wherever possible to provide the maximum possible infiltration capacity and beneficial growth medium. The topsoil shall have a minimum depth of 8 inches. Scarify subsoils below the topsoil layer at least 4 inches with some incorporation of the upper material to avoid stratified layers where feasible. Ripping or restructuring the subgrade may also provide additional benefits regarding the overall infiltration and interflow dynamics of the soil system. A minimum organic content of 10% dry weight in planting beds and 5% organic matter content in turf areas. Incorporate organic amendments to a minimum 8-inch depth except for tree roots or other natural features limit the depth of incorporation. A pH between 6 and 8 or matching pH of the undisturbed soil. If blended topsoil is imported, then fines should be limited to a 25% passing through 200 sieve. Mulch planting beds at 2 inches of organic material. Accomplish the required organic content, depth, and pH by returning native topsoil to the site, importing topsoil of sufficient organic content, and or incorporating organic amendments. Section 3 through 7 of Building Soil, Guidelines and Resources for Implementing Soil Quality and Depth, BMP T513, in Washington Department of Ecology Stormwater Management Manual for Western Washington provides useful guidance for implementing whichever option is chosen. The final compensation and construction of the soil system will result in natural selection or favor of certain plant species over time. Allow sufficient time and scheduling for topsoil spreading prior to planting. You also want to take care when applying topsoil to subsoils with contrasting textures. Sandy topsoils over clayey subsoil is a particularly poor combination as water creeps along the junction between the soil layers and causes the topsoil to slow. Field exploration of the site shall be made to determine if there's a surface soil of sufficient quantity and quality to justify stripping. Topsoil shall be friable and loamy, loam, sand, loam, silt loam, sandy clay loam, and clay loam. Avoid areas of natural groundwater recharge. Stripping shall be confined to the immediate construction area. A 4-inch to 6-inch stripping depth is common, but depth may vary depending on the particular soil. Do not place topsoil while in a frozen or muddy condition, when the subgrade is excessively wet, or when the conditions exist that may otherwise be detrimental to proper grading or proposed sodding or seeding. In any areas requiring grading, remove and stockpile the duff layer and topsoil on site in a designated control area, not adjacent to public resources and critical areas. Reapply stockpiled topsoil to other portions of the site where feasible. Locate the topsoil stockpile so that it meets specifications and does not interfere with work on the site. Stockpiling of topsoil shall occur in the following manner. Side slopes of the stockpile shall not exceed 2 horizontal, 1 vertical. Between October 1st and April 30th, an interceptor dike with a gravel outlet and silt fence shall surround all topsoil. And within 2 days, complete erosion control seeding or covering stockpiles with clear plastic or other mulching materials. Then between May 1st and September 30th, an interceptor dike with gravel outlet and silt fence shall surround all topsoil. If the stockpile will remain in place for a longer period of time than active construction grading. Then within 7 days, complete erosion control seeding or covering stockpiles with clear plastic or other mulching materials. Reinstall topsoil within 4 to 6 weeks. Do not allow for the saturation of topsoil with water. Do not use plastic coverings. And then for maintenance, inspect stockpiles regularly, especially after storm events. Establish soil quality and depth towards the end of construction, and once established, protect from compaction such as large machinery use and from erosion. Plant mulch in soil after installation. Leave plant debris or its equivalent in the soil surface to replenish organic matter. And reduce and adjust, where possible, the use of irrigation, fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, rather than continuing to implement formally established practices. So those are overviews of those BMPs. We're going to continue to go through the BMPs in the rest of the series. So you're going to want to follow along with that. And anyways, we'll see you guys in the next video.